The ground shook beneath Commander Park Hyun's boots as he watched the massive creature tear through another mining drill. The beast stood 30 feet tall, its dark purple skin covered in sharp crystal spikes that caught the light of Kepler 442b's twin suns. Golden eyes burned with rage as it smashed the expensive equipment into twisted metal. "Sir, that's the 4th drill this month," said Lieutenant Kim Tae beside him. The young officer's voice shook as he spoke. "The mining company is threatening to leave the colony." Park Hyun gripped his weapon tighter. 2 years, 2 long years they had been fighting this creature they called the Wild Titan. Nothing worked. Energy nets only made it angrier. Sonic weapons seemed to bounce right off its thick hide. Sleep. Gas did nothing at all. The Titan let out a deep roar that echoed across the rocky landscape. The sound made the windows of the colony buildings rattle. Children cried in the distance. Adults ran for the safety bunkers they knew by heart. "Send word to Dr. Lee," Park Hyun ordered. "Tell her we need another plan. The old ones aren't working." Dr. Lee Sola was already on her way. She ran across the colony grounds with her scanner in hand, her black hair flying behind her. As the colony's expert on alien life, she had studied the Titan more than anyone else. But she still didn't understand it. "Commander," she called out as she reached him. "Look at this." She held up her scanner. The screen showed strange readings. The creature's brain activity is off the charts. It's not acting like a simple animal. There's real intelligence there. Park Hyun watched the Titan destroy another piece of equipment with careful precision. The beast never hurt people directly. It seemed to know exactly which machines to break and which buildings to avoid. That was strange for a wild animal. "Intelligence. Or not, it has to be stopped," he said. "The Galactic Mining Consortium is losing patience. If we can't control this thing, they'll abandon the colony entirely." The consortium had already sent their best tamers. First came the Vorthak, tall reptile-like aliens with scales that changed color when they were angry. They brought neural control devices that could take over the mind of any creature. The Wild Titan had crushed their machines before they could even turn them on. Next were the Zilani, insect creatures that moved like they shared one mind. They tried to confuse the Titan with their swarm tactics. The beast had swatted them away, like annoying flies, though it was careful not to kill any of them. The strangest attempt came from the Nepheri, beings made of living gas who floated in special suits. They filled the air around the Titan with sleep chemicals. The creature had simply held its breath and waited for the gas to clear. "Every species in the galaxy has tried to tame this thing," Park Hyun said, watching the Titan move to its next target. "What makes us think humans can do any better?" Dr. Lee adjusted her scanner settings. "Maybe we're thinking about this wrong. Look at its movement patterns. It's not random destruction. The Titan always hits the same areas. It makes the same sounds. It follows the same paths." She was right. The creature had habits almost like routines. Every few days it would come down from the rocky hills and attack the mining site. It would destroy exactly 3 or 4 machines, then retreat to a high outcrop where it would stand for hours looking up at the sky. In the residential section of the colony, Kim Dae-ho pulled his 7-year-old daughter Hana away from the window. The little girl had been watching the attack with wide, curious eyes instead of fear. "Papa, why is the big creature so angry?" Hana asked, clutching her worn teddy bear close to her chest. The bear was missing one button eye and had patches of different colored fabric sewn over holes. Her mother had made those patches before she died 3 years ago. "I don't know, little one," Dae-ho said softly. "Sometimes creatures just get angry. That's why we have to stay inside when it comes." Hana looked back toward the window. Even from this distance she could see the Titan clearly. It wasn't destroying things wildly like the adults said. It seemed careful, almost sad. When it roared, the sound reminded her of how she cried when she missed her mother. "It sounds lonely, Papa," she whispered. Dae-ho didn't hear her. He was too busy checking that all the windows were locked and the emergency supplies were ready. Like all the colony parents, he had learned to prepare for Titan attacks. Outside, the creature finished its work and began walking back toward the hills. Its massive feet left deep prints in the red dirt. As it climbed higher, it moved slower, like it was tired. At the top of its favorite rocky point, it stopped and sat down. From there, it could see the entire colony spread out below. Dr. Lee watched through her telescope. "Commander, look at this. It's not leaving. It's watching us." Park Hyun took the telescope and looked for himself. The Titan sat perfectly still, its golden eyes fixed on the colony buildings. There was something almost human in its posture. It looked like a person sitting alone, thinking about something important. "What does it want?" he asked. "I don't know," Dr. Lee admitted. "But I don't think it wants to hurt anyone. In 2 years, it has never directly attacked a person. It could have killed dozens of us, but it goes out of its way to avoid harming anyone." That was true. The Titan seemed to have rules about what it would and wouldn't do. It destroyed machines, but not homes. It roared at people to scare them away, but never chased them. Once, when a child had wandered too close during an attack, the creature had actually stopped its rampage and waited for the child to run to safety. "The mining company doesn't care about its intentions," Park Hyun said, grimly. "They want results. If we can't solve this problem in 1 week, they're pulling everyone out. This colony will be abandoned." Dr. Lee felt her heart sink. Kepler 442b was home to over 300 people now. Families had built lives here. Children had been born here. The thought of abandoning everything because of one creature, no matter how large, seemed wrong. As the twin suns began to set, the Titan finally stood up from its watching post. It let out one more roar, softer this time, almost like a sigh. Then it walked deeper into the hills where the humans couldn't follow. In her room, little Hana pressed her face against the window and watched the creature disappear into the darkness. She hugged her teddy bear tighter and made a quiet promise. "Don't worry, Bomi," she whispered to the worn toy. "Tomorrow I'm going to find out why the big creature is so sad." Neither her father nor anyone else in the colony heard her words. They were all too busy preparing for another day of fear, another day of fighting a creature they didn't understand. But Hana understood something the adults had missed. The wild Titan wasn't wild at all. It was just lost and alone, like she had been, after her mother died. And if there was one thing Hana knew about being lonely, it was that sometimes all you needed was a friend. The alarm bells rang across the colony at dawn. Hana woke up in her small bed, clutching her teddy bear Bomi as the ground shook beneath their building. Through her window, she could see the wild Titan moving between the mining machines again. "Stay away from the windows," her father Kim Dae-ho called out as he rushed to get dressed. "Another attack. We need to get to the bunker." But Hana didn't move away from the window. She pressed her face against the cool glass and watched the massive creature work. The adults always said it was destroying everything. But that wasn't what she saw. The Titan moved carefully around the smaller buildings where people lived. It stepped over the flower garden that Mrs. Park had planted near the main path. When it reached the big mining drill, the creature stopped and tilted its massive head. It looked at the machine for a long moment, like it was thinking. Then it pushed the drill over with one gentle shove. Not angry, not violent, just sad. "Papa, look," Hana said. "It's not being mean. It's being careful." But Dae-ho was already pulling her away from the window. "Come on, little one. We have to go to the safe room." In the underground bunker, Hana sat between her father and old Mr. Choi, who ran the colony store. All around them, families huddled together while the ground shook above. The bunker had thick concrete walls and a big window that looked out at the mining area. Most of the adults kept their eyes closed or looked at the floor. They didn't want to see the destruction. But Hana climbed onto a chair and looked through the observation window. She had the best view of anyone. The Titan was making sounds. Not angry roars like the adults always talked about. These were different sounds, lower, longer. They reminded Hana of whale songs she had heard in her school lessons about Earth's oceans. "It's trying to talk," she whispered. Mrs. Park, who was sitting nearby, heard her. "Don't be silly, child. That monster doesn't talk, it just destroys things." But Hana kept watching. The creature would knock over a machine, then stop and make those long, sad sounds. like it was calling for someone, like it was asking a question and waiting for an answer that never came. After 20 minutes, the Titan finished its work and walked back toward the hills. As always, it climbed to its favorite rocky spot and sat down to look at the colony. But today, Hana noticed something new. The creature wasn't looking at the buildings or the people. It was looking at the sky, at the empty spaces between the stars. When the all-clear signal sounded, everyone filed out of the bunker. Commander Park Hyun and Dr. Lee Sola were already outside, talking in serious voices about weapons and solutions. Hana walked past them toward her home, but she heard Dr. Lee say something interesting. The pattern is getting stronger. It hits the same 3 locations every time, always in the same order, always at the same time of day. That afternoon, while her father was at work in the colony's communication center, Hana made a decision. She was going to watch the Titan more carefully. If the grown-ups couldn't understand it, maybe a kid could figure it out. She knew she wasn't supposed to leave the residential area alone, but Hana was good at being quiet and staying hidden. She had learned those skills after her mother died, when sometimes she just needed to be by herself. Hana found a spot behind some large rocks at the edge of the colony. From there, she could see the path the Titan always took when it came down from the hills. She brought Bomi with her for company and waited. For 3 days she watched. Each time the pattern was exactly the same. The creature would come down at sunrise. It would visit the mining drill first, then the ore processor, then the transport trucks. At each stop it would make those whale song sounds and wait like it was hoping for an answer. On the 4th day, Dr. Lee Sola found her. "Hana, what are you doing out here?" the scientist asked. She didn't sound angry, just curious. "Your father is worried sick." Hana looked up at the tall woman with the kind eyes. "I'm watching the big creature. It's not mean, Dr. Lee. It's looking for something." Dr. Lee sat down on the rocks beside the little girl. "What makes you think that?" "It always goes to the same places, and it makes sounds like it's calling someone. My mama used to make sounds like that when she was looking for me in the house." Hana hugged Bomi closer. "I think it's lost." Dr. Lee had brought her scanner with her. She looked at the readings and frowned. "You know, Hana, you might be right. The creature's brain patterns show signs of distress, not anger. And these locations it visits, they're all places where we found strange metal fragments when we first built the colony." "What kind of metal?" "We thought it was just space junk, pieces of old ships that crashed here long ago. But maybe..." Dr. Lee's eyes grew wide. "Maybe they weren't random crashes. Maybe someone else lived here before us." That evening, Dr. Lee had a long talk with Hana's father. She explained what the little girl had observed and asked permission for Hana to help with the research. Daeho wasn't happy about it, but he could see that his daughter had noticed things the adults had missed. "She's always been good at understanding feelings," he said quietly. "Even when she was very small, she knew when people were sad or scared. Her mother was the same way." The next morning, Dr. Lee and Hana sat together in the observation post, watching the Titan's daily routine. Dr. Lee had special equipment that could measure sound waves and brain activity. Hana had her eyes and her heart. "There." Hana pointed as the creature stopped at the first mining drill. "Listen to the sound it makes." Dr. Lee adjusted her equipment. The scanner showed sound frequencies that human ears couldn't normally hear. When she played them back at a slower speed, they sounded almost like words, like a language. "My goodness," Dr. Lee whispered. "You're right. It is trying to communicate." The Titan finished its routine and walked back to its hill. But today, as it climbed, it stopped halfway up and turned around. Its golden eyes seemed to look right at the observation post where Hana and Dr. Lee were sitting. For a long moment, human and creature stared at each other across the distance. Then the Titan made a new sound, softer than usual, almost gentle. "It sees us watching," Hana said. "I think it wants to be friends." Dr. Lee checked her readings again. The creature's brain patterns had changed. The distress signals were still there, but now there was something else. Hope. That night, Commander Park Hyun called an emergency meeting. The mining company had sent their final warning. 1 week remained before they would abandon the colony entirely. "We have to take stronger action," he announced to the gathered colonists. "Tomorrow we're going to use the heavy weapons. We'll drive the creature away permanently or destroy it if necessary." In the back of the room, Dr. Lee stood up. "Commander, I think we're making a mistake. This creature isn't our enemy. It's trying to tell us something important. With respect, Doctor, we don't have time for more theories. The company wants results." But Hana, sitting beside her father, had heard enough. The grown-ups were going to hurt the lonely creature before anyone bothered to understand what it needed. She couldn't let that happen. As the meeting continued with talk of weapons and attack plans, Hana quietly slipped out of the room. She had an idea. It was dangerous, and her father would be very angry. But sometimes grown-ups needed help from kids to do the right thing. She was going to talk to the Titan herself. Hana waited until her father was asleep before she made her move. The colony was quiet under the light of the twin moons. Most people were in their homes, preparing for what Commander Park Hyun had called the final solution. Tomorrow, they would use the big guns to drive away the Titan forever. She dressed quietly in the dark, pulling on her warmest clothes. The nights on Kepler 442b were cold, and she didn't know how long she would be outside. Most importantly, she picked up her teddy, Bear Bomi, from the nightstand beside her bed. Bomi was old and worn. The brown fur had faded to a pale tan in some places. One button eye was missing, leaving just a loose thread where it used to be. Her mother had sewn 3 different patches onto the bear over the years, each one a different color and pattern. But to Hana, Bomi was perfect. "Come on," she whispered to the bear. "We're going to help the big creature." Getting out of the colony buildings was easier than she expected. The guards were watching for the Titan coming in, not for little girls sneaking out. Hana knew all the best hiding spots from her games of hide-and-seek with other children. The hardest part was getting past the fence that surrounded the residential area. But Hana was small and knew about the loose section behind the maintenance shed that bigger people couldn't fit through. Once outside the colony proper, she followed the path the Titan always took. Her small flashlight made a tiny circle of light on the rocky ground. Every few steps she stopped to listen for dangerous sounds. But the night was peaceful except for the distant hum of the colony's power generators. It took her almost an hour to reach the rocky outcrop where the Titan spent its evenings. As she climbed higher, she could see the massive shape sitting at the very top, silhouetted against the star-filled sky. The creature was making its sad whale song sounds again, but quieter now, like it was talking to itself, or maybe talking to the stars. Hana's heart beat fast as she got closer. The Titan was even bigger up close than it looked from the colony. Its crystal spikes caught the moonlight and threw tiny rainbows on the rocks around it. But it didn't look scary. It looked lonely. She stopped about 20 feet away and sat down on a flat rock. For a few minutes, she just watched the creature. It seemed lost in its own thoughts, looking up at the sky like it was searching for something among the stars. "Hello?" Hana said softly. The Titan's massive head turned toward her. Golden eyes the size of dinner plates focused on the small human child. For a moment that felt like forever, they stared at each other. Then the creature made a sound. Not angry or threatening. Just surprised. Like it couldn't believe a human had come to visit it alone. "I'm Hana," she said, standing up slowly. "I've been watching you. I know you're not mean, you're just sad." The Titan tilted its head, listening. Its eyes moved to the teddy bear in her arms. "This is Bomi," Hana continued, holding up the worn toy. "She was my mama's when she was little, and then she was mine. Mama died 3 years ago, and sometimes I get really sad and lonely. But Bomi helps me feel better." She took a step closer. The Titan didn't move away. "You look lonely too," Hana said. "Maybe you lost someone important like I lost my mama." The creature made one of its whale song sounds, but softer this time, almost like a sigh. Hana looked at Bomi in her arms. The teddy bear had been her constant companion through the hardest times in her life. When she cried at night, Bomi was there. When she felt scared in a new place, Bomi made her brave. When she missed her mother so much it hurt, Bomi reminded her that love didn't disappear just because someone went away. But looking at the massive, lonely creature in front of her, Hana realized something important. The Titan needed a friend, more than she did. "Here," she said, walking closer to the creature. "Bomi helped me when I was sad. Maybe she can help you too." She placed the worn teddy bear on the ground at the Titan's feet. The reaction was immediate and amazing. The creature's golden eyes focused on the small toy with intense interest. Very carefully, using just the tip of one massive finger, it touched Bomi's patched fur. Then something incredible happened. The Titan picked up the teddy bear, cradling it against its huge chest with impossible gentleness. Its eyes moved over every detail of the toy, from the missing button eye to the colorful patches to the worn spots where Hana had hugged it thousands of times. The creature made a new sound. Not the sad whale song calls it usually made. This was different. Warmer. Like recognition. "You understand, don't you?" Hana said quietly. "You know what it's like to love something that's broken but still perfect." The Titan looked down at her, still holding Bomi carefully. In its golden eyes, Hana saw something she recognized. The same look she had seen in her own mirror after her mother died. The look of someone who had lost everything important and didn't know how to find it again. But now there was something else in those eyes. Gratitude. The creature sat down slowly, bringing itself closer to Hana's level. It held Bomi out toward her like it was asking permission to keep holding the bear. "It's okay," Hana said. "You can have her. Bomi likes to help sad friends." For the next hour they sat together under the stars. The Titan held the teddy bear and made soft sounds that were almost like a lullaby. Hana told it about her life in the colony, about her father who worked too hard, about how much she missed her mother, about the games she played and the books she read. The creature listened to everything, occasionally making gentle sounds in response. It was the first real conversation either of them had had in a long time. As the first light of dawn began to show on the horizon, Hana heard voices calling her name from the direction of the colony. Her father had discovered she was missing. "I have to go," she said, standing up. "But I'll come back to visit if you want." The Titan made a questioning sound. "The grown-ups are scared of you because they don't understand," Hana explained. "But maybe if you stop breaking their machines, they would listen to me when I tell them you're nice." The creature looked at Bomi in its arms, then back at Hana. It made what sounded like a promise. As Hana walked back down the rocky slope toward the colony, she heard the Titan make one more sound. Not sad this time, not angry. For the first time since she had been watching it, the creature sounded peaceful. She was halfway back to the colony when the search party found her. Her father, Kim Dae-ho, was leading the group, his face white with worry and fear. "Hana," he called out, running toward her. "Are you hurt? What were you doing out here alone?" Behind him came Commander Park Hyun, Dr. Lee Sola, and several other adults with flashlights and weapons. They all looked ready for trouble. "I'm fine, Papa," Hana said as her father hugged her tight. "I was talking to the big creature. Its name means guardian of small ones, and it's not mean at all. It just misses its friends." The adults looked at each other with confusion and disbelief. Commander Park Hyun raised his weapon and scanned the area for signs of the Titan. "Where is it now?" he asked. Hana pointed back up the rocky slope. "It's up there. It won't hurt anyone anymore. I gave it Bomi to keep it company." Dr. Lee Sola was already pulling out her scanner. The readings showed something incredible. For the first time in 2 years, the area around the Titan showed no hostile energy signatures, no aggression, no threat indicators, just peace. "Commander," Dr. Lee said quietly, staring at her equipment, "I think the child actually did it. I think she made contact." High up on the rocky outcrop, silhouetted against the growing dawn light, they could see the massive shape of the Titan. It sat perfectly still, something small and dark held carefully against its chest. The creature that had terrorized their colony for 2 years was cradling a little girl's broken teddy bear, like it was the most precious thing in the universe. And for the first time since anyone could remember, the wild Titan looked content. The next morning brought the most important discovery in the colony's history. Dr. Lee Solo worked through the night, running every scan she could think of on the peaceful Titan. What she found changed everything they thought they knew about the creature. "Commander, you need to see this," she called out as Park Hyun entered the research station. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep, but her voice was full of excitement. "What is it, Doctor?" Dr. Lee pulled up images on her main screen. "These are brain scans of the Titan from yesterday and today. Look at the difference." The first image showed chaotic patterns, like a storm of electrical activity. The second image was completely different. The patterns were organized, peaceful, almost musical in their rhythm. "Yesterday's scan shows a creature in severe emotional distress," Dr. Lee explained. "Today's scan shows something I've never seen before. The Titan isn't just intelligent, Commander. It's highly emotional. It feels things as deeply as we do." Park Hyun studied the images. "What changed?" Hana gave it her teddy bear. More scans revealed the full truth. The Titan's body showed old injuries that had healed long ago. Marks around its limbs that looked like restraints, scars that suggested it had once worn some kind of harness or control device. "It's not a wild creature at all," Dr. Lee continued. "Someone captured it, someone trained it, and someone separated it from its natural companions." She pulled up more data. Deep scans of the areas where the Titan had been attacking showed traces of organic compounds that didn't match anything on Kepler 442b. They were the remains of small creatures, long dead, buried under years of rock and dirt. "Those metal fragments we found when we built the colony weren't from crashed ships," Dr. Lee realized. "They were from cages, prison cells. Someone was keeping creatures here against their will." The picture became clearer with each piece of evidence. The Titan had been brought to this planet as a prisoner, along with smaller creatures that were probably its companions. When the captors left or died, the Titan was left alone with the bodies of its friends. "It's been grieving, Doctor," Lee said quietly. "For years, maybe decades, it's been trying to protect what remains of its companions. That's why it attacks our mining equipment. We're digging up their graves." Commander Park Hyun felt sick. "We've been treating a mourning creature like a monster." "There's more," Dr. Lee said. "Look at these readings from when Hana was with it." The screen showed brain patterns from both the Titan and, surprisingly, from Hana herself. The two sets of patterns were almost identical in some areas. "The child and the creature are somehow connected," Dr. Lee explained. "When she gave it the teddy bear, something amazing happened. The Titan recognized what the bear represented: love, care, the kind of bond it had with its lost companions." That afternoon, Park Hyun called off the planned attack. Instead, he gathered the colony's leaders for an emergency meeting. Dr. Lee presented all her findings while Hana sat beside, her father still worried about the big creature on the hill. "So what do we do now?" asked Director Young, the colony's administrator. "The mining company is still demanding results." "We tell them the truth," Park Hyun said. "This isn't a pest control problem. It's a refugee situation. We're dealing with a survivor of what appears to be illegal trafficking." But not everyone was convinced. Some colonists were still afraid. Others worried about their jobs if the mining operation was shut down. "With respect, Commander," said Engineer Kang, "we can't risk everyone's safety based on one child's interaction with that thing." "That thing has a name," Hana spoke up from her chair. Her voice was small but determined. "It told me, sort of. Not with words, but I understood. It means guardian of small ones." Dr. Lee nodded. "The child is right, and she's not just making up stories. My scans show that Hana has an unusual ability to read emotional states. She's naturally empathic in a way that most humans aren't." "Can she really communicate with it?" Director Young asked. "Let me show you," Dr. Lee said. She had been working on a new device all morning. "This translator can convert the Titan's vocalizations into patterns we can understand. It's not perfect, but it's a start." They set up the equipment at the observation post. The Titan was still, on its rocky hill, still holding Bomi carefully in its massive arms. When Dr. Lee activated the translator and called out to the creature, it responded immediately. The whale song sounds the Titan made came through the speakers as something that almost sounded like words. Sad, questioning words in a language no human had ever heard before. It's asking about the small companion, Dr. Lee translated. It wants to know if Bomi is safe with it. Hana stepped forward and spoke directly to the Titan. Her words were simple, but they carried deep feeling. Bomi is safe. Bomi is happy. You're taking good care of her. The Titan's response was immediate, a sound that could only be gratitude. Over. The next few days, with Hana acting as an emotional translator and Dr. Lee providing technical support, they learned the full story. The Titan's people were peaceful creatures who lived in bonded groups. Each large guardian was responsible for protecting dozens of smaller companions. The Titan had been captured by slavers along with its entire family group. It had been trained to work in dangerous mining operations while its small companions were kept as hostages to ensure its cooperation. When the slaving operation was shut down by galactic authorities, the survivors were left stranded on various planets. The Titan had been alone on Kepler 442b for over a decade, protecting the burial site of its dead companions and hoping that someday other guardians might find it. It never wanted to hurt us, Dr. Lee explained to the gathered colonists. It was trying to keep us away from a sacred place. In its culture, disturbing the dead is the worst possible crime. The mining company representatives arrived the next day, ready to implement the final solution. But instead of finding a colony, ready to destroy a dangerous beast, they found humans who had made first contact with a new intelligent species. Commander Park Hyun stood firm in his decision. We're not killing a sentient being who's been protecting a cemetery. We're going to find a way to coexist. The company officials were not happy. This is going to cost millions to relocate the mining operation. Then it costs millions. Parks, Hyun said. Some things are more important than money. But the real breakthrough came when Hana suggested something that surprised all the adults. Why don't we ask the Guardian to help us? She said during another meeting. It knows more about this planet than we do. Maybe it can show us better places to dig that won't hurt anyone. Dr. Lee was intrigued. The creature has been here for years. It would know the geology, the safe areas, the places to avoid. When they proposed this idea to the Titan through their translation system, its response was immediate and positive. It had been watching the humans work and could see several problems with their current methods. There were rich mineral deposits in areas that held no cultural significance to its people. More importantly, the Titan offered something else: protection. The planet had dangerous predators that the colonists hadn't encountered yet. With the Guardian watching over them, the humans would be safe from threats they didn't even know existed. The partnership began slowly. The Titan would point out good mining locations from its hilltop perch. The humans would work carefully, always, checking with their new ally before digging in sensitive areas. And at the center of it all was little Hana, the bridge between two very different species. Every evening, she would visit the Guardian on its hill. She would tell it about her day, and it would share its memories of a home among the stars. The worn teddy bear Bomi became a symbol of their friendship. The Guardian carried it everywhere, treating it with the same gentle care it had once shown to its small companions. For the first time in years, the creature known as the Wild Titan was no longer wild. It was no longer alone. It had found a new family among the humans who had learned to see it not as a monster, but as a friend. The galaxy was about to learn that sometimes the best way to tame a wild heart is simply to offer it love. 6 months after the first contact, Kepler 442b had become the most famous colony in human space. The story of little Hana and the Guardian had spread through every system, every space station, every world where humans lived and worked. The mining colony was now 3 times larger than before. Scientists came from across the galaxy to study the unique partnership between humans and the creature they now knew as Keeper of the Small Ones. The Guardian had shared its real name through the translation device Dr. Lee had perfected, though most people still called it by the nickname Hana had given it. Big friend, she would say simply when people asked what she called the massive creature. The colony had changed in wonderful ways. Where once there had been fear and destruction, Now there was cooperation and growth. The Guardian had showed them mineral deposits that were richer than anything they had found before. With its protection, mining teams could work in areas that had been too dangerous to explore. But more importantly, the creature had taught them to see their new world differently. This wasn't just a planet to be mined and stripped bare. It was a home, a place where different kinds of life could exist together. Dr. Lee Sola had become famous throughout the scientific community for her work in cross-species communication. Her research papers were read by xenobiologists on every major world, but she always made sure to include Hana as a co-author on her most important discoveries. The child understood things that all our advanced instruments missed, she would tell other scientists. Sometimes the best technology is a caring heart. Commander Park Hyun had been promoted and offered positions on other worlds, but he chose to stay on Kepler 442b. This is where the future is being built, he said. This is where we're learning to be better than we were. The Guardian had changed, too. No longer the lonely, grieving creature that had terrorized the colony, it had found new purpose in protecting its adopted human family. The rocky outcrop where it had spent years in solitude was now a popular spot where colonists would come to think and relax. The creature had even learned to be gentle with the smallest humans. Children who had once run in terror now brought it. Drawings and small gifts. The Guardian would examine each offering with the same careful attention it gave to everything important in its life. But the most important relationship was still between Hana and her big friend. Every evening, as the twin sun set over the red landscape, 8-year-old Hana would climb the familiar path to the Guardian's hill. She was taller now, stronger from a year of good food and outdoor adventures, but she still carried the most important tool of their friendship. Bomi the teddy bear had been carefully repaired. The Guardian had used crystal fibers from its own body to sew a new button eye for the worn toy. The patches were still there, but now they were part of a carefully maintained treasure, rather than signs of wear. "How was your day, big friend?" Hana would ask as she settled onto her favorite rock beside the massive creature. The Guardian would respond with the gentle musical sounds that Hana had learned to understand, even without Dr. Lee's translation device. Today it told her about the weather patterns it had observed, the small animals it had seen near the mining sites, the progress of the new buildings being constructed in the colony. In return, Hana shared her own day. She was learning to read the emotional states of other creatures just like Dr. Lee had predicted. The other children sometimes brought her their pets when the animals were sick or scared, knowing that Hana could tell them what was wrong. "Mrs. Park's cat is sad because she misses her old home," Hana would report. "But she likes the new food, so she'll be happy soon." The Guardian listened to everything with infinite patience. Through their friendship, it was learning about human culture, human emotions, human ways of seeing the world, and Hana was learning about perspectives she had never imagined. Through the Guardian's memories shared in dreams and quiet moments, she could see the stars not as distant lights, but as the homes of countless different peoples. She understood that the universe was full of creatures like her big friend, beings with rich inner lives and deep capacity for love and loss. One evening, as they sat together watching the stars appear in the darkening sky, the Guardian made a sound Hana had never heard before. It was musical and complex, almost like a song. "What's that?" she asked. The creature gestured toward the sky with one massive arm. Through their mental connection, Hana suddenly understood. Other Guardians, far away, but calling across the darkness of space. Her big friend wasn't the only survivor after all. "They're looking for you," she realized. The Guardian made another sound. Confirmation, but also uncertainty. It wanted to answer the call to find others of its kind, but it didn't want to leave its new family. Hana thought about this for a long time. Finally, she spoke in the careful way she had learned to use when something was really important. "Big friend, you taught me that love doesn't disappear when someone goes away. My mama is gone, but I still love her. If you need to find your people, we'll still love you." The Guardian's golden eyes focused on her with an expression she had learned to recognize as deep affection. It reached out one massive finger and gently touched her cheek. But instead of sadness at the thought of separation, the Guardian began to show Hana something wonderful. Images flowed between them, pictures of possibility. Other Guardians coming to Kepler 442b. A real community of the creatures, not just one lonely survivor. And humans learning from them, traveling with them, becoming part of a larger family that spanned the stars. You mean we could all be together? Hana asked. The Guardian's response was pure joy. Dr. Lee was fascinated when Hana told her about the contact with other survivors. This could change everything, she said. If there are more of them out there, if we can help them find each other. Commander Park Hyun saw the bigger picture immediately. We're not just running a mining colony anymore. We're going to be the center of the first true interspecies alliance in galactic history. The preparations took months. Communication arrays were built to send messages across interstellar distances. Larger landing facilities were constructed for the ships that would bring other survivors to their new home. And through it all, Hana and the Guardian worked together to prepare for the arrival of new friends. The creature taught her about Guardian culture, about the deep bonds between large and small, about the songs they sang to navigate the darkness between stars. When the first ship arrived carrying 3 more Guardians and their human rescue team, it was Hana who stood beside her big friend to welcome them. The little girl who had once been too scared to leave her room now served as humanity's youngest ambassador to the stars. The reunion was beautiful beyond words. The Guardians sang together for hours, their voices creating harmonies that made the very air seem to shimmer with music. They shared memories, grief for the lost and hope for the future. But the most important moment came when the newly arrived Guardians saw Bomi, still carefully maintained and treasured by Hana's big friend. Through their songs, they shared the understanding that had changed everything. Sometimes the greatest strength isn't in weapons or technology or force. Sometimes it's in the simple act of offering comfort to someone who needs it. The humans had given the Guardians more than just a new home. They had given them something to believe in again. The possibility that different species could not just coexist, but truly care for each other. As the celebration continued into the night, Hana sat, with her big friend on their favorite hill, watching the lights of the expanding colony below. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new discoveries, new adventures. But tonight, under the familiar stars of a world that had become home to creatures from across the galaxy, a little girl and her giant friend simply enjoyed the peace they had created together. The teddy bear Bomi sat between them, no longer just a toy but a symbol of the truth that had changed 2 civilizations. Love, offered freely and without expectation, had the power to heal even the deepest wounds. And in a universe that could be cold and dangerous and lonely, that was the most important discovery of all. The wild Titan was wild no more. It was home.